guys, what is up? It's Kat here. Thank you so much for coming back and joining me today. If this video seems delayed, it is because it most definitely is, because I truly have not even processed or fully found a way to formulate words to describe or express how I'm truly actually emotionally and mentally and physically feeling. All of the feels following the what I believe to be a stellar conclusion to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series on Disney+. Before I dive any further into it, I will just disclaim ahead of time now that my overall review of the series is overwhelmingly on the positive side. Probably not a surprise to those of you who tuned in throughout my reactions and watched me cry for like 6 weeks straight, but I just wanted to start this off by disclaiming that I am very much aware that the series has been very polarizing, which of course is to my dismay. You guys know that I had hyped Kenobi up to be a possibly very unifying show for the fandom here. Anticipation and the hype that was in the Star Wars fandom air, like I truly just thought that this show had the potential to heal a lot of still very fresh wounds within the fandom. Of course, that has proven to not be the case. If anything, I've seen more division in the fandom than ever, unfortunately. But at the same time, it just highlights how near and dear to our hearts these characters in the story is, and how everyone perceives Star Wars differently, but no matter what your opinion might be, it does not diminish or negate your level of passion for Star Wars, or how genuine of a fan you are, or how real of a fan you are. I'm seeing all of these quotes going around like real Star Wars fans didn't like XYZ, and I think that's absolute. Like, Star Wars is reaching a point in time where, especially with the trajectory that we have, even just for the remainder of this year, Bad Batch and/or Visions, is that coming next year? So much is happening. There's going to be so much new material, so much in the pipeline. You can just pick and choose what you like or disliked, and I'm not here to tell you what makes you a real fan or not, whether you liked the show or not. That's not my place. I just wanted to come on, not necessarily share my thoughts about the finale, although that does hold a lot of the emotional weight of this show, of course, because you guys know, Howard Stern knows, I was genuinely nervous for my emotional well-being in the weeks leading up to the show, because I didn't even think I was going to be able to emotionally or mentally handle whatever they were going to throw at us. Whether it's you and Hayden, those two alone, I was like, whatever happens, I'm going to be emotional. So yes, now that the series has come to a close, I just wanted to share my thoughts with you guys, inspire hopefully some healthy, friendly, respectful discourse so that we can talk about the show, because it's fine if you have critiques. I have critiques, but I'd say my overall opinion is I have some very minor nitpicky complaints about certain things, but those are dwarfed by what I truly feel this show has blessed us with. Like, the content that this show has provided that will now be seared into the canon forever, that has completely just changed everything and reopened wounds that I knew weren't going to be healed, aka Revenge of the Sith, somehow given me closure, but at the same time somehow managed to break my heart all over again with Hayden Christensen and the character of Anakin, who I didn't think could get any more tragic, yet somehow they managed to do that. Like, they did the impossible, almost. These characters are legendary. They are not, as Vader himself says, he's not just any Jedi, and Vader himself, Anakin, they are not just any two Star Wars characters. These are legacy, legendary, beloved characters. With that being said, I do think I genuinely would have preferred if all 6 episodes had just been released at the same time. I might have expressed this to you guys previously, but I do think they did themselves a disservice, because this series really is meant, I feel like, to be ingested as a 6-part whole. And by releasing episodes on a weekly basis, it gives people time to just completely strip it of everything that was good and great and focus on what they didn't like, and then you're just toiling over that as you're sitting and waiting for the next 7 days because you're just impatient, because we just want the next one. At least that was the case for me. Like, I just think I genuinely would have benefited. I think we all would have benefited if they had released this show as a 6-part whole all at once, because that is, I truly believe that's how it is meant to be. That's how it was designed, and I think that would have eradicated some of the negative discourse surrounding some of the episodes and some of my own just minor complaints, because at the end of the day, the 6-part series, the 6-part event, as they have advertised it as a whole, I can't, my complaints like don't come to mind. Like, when I think about the series as a whole, I just cannot stop thinking about the goodness that they have brought us, the emotions that I have felt that I didn't think I was ever going to experience. Even just the finale on its own, and that one interaction after this incredibly agonizing duel between Obi-Wan and Vader, knowing that Anakin is still in there. This for me was just such a jarring experience, because I've always like believed, yes, like when I look at Vader, I know that Anakin is like still in there, even if it's just like 0.5% of him. But this finale showed us what we have all like truly felt deep down, knowing that it's Anakin still deep down in there. And that is what is one of the most heartbreaking elements of all of Star Wars, is the fact that our hero has become an absolute menace in this suit, but we all still want to believe that he is in there. And this finale just absolutely ripped our hearts out more than I thought was even capable after Revenge of the Sith. I thought that was as bad as it could get. The writers were like, absolutely not. And even just that interaction alone, the dialogue, albeit brief, between Kenobi and Anakin, opening those wounds again and rehashing their relationship and Anakin's downfall all before our eyes again, and showing us what I really wanted to see throughout the whole show. Finally, Anakin Hayden Christensen in the Vader suit. That was just a visual that I frankly never thought we were going to see in Star Wars beyond just fan concept art. That moment alone is just highlight of my life, let alone highlight of this series. And you guys know I've been an advocate. I've said this a lot on the channel, and I firmly believe that a show shouldn't necessarily ride on the fact that the finale is going to be huge. A better way to phrase that, I guess, is you shouldn't put all of your eggs in the finale's basket. So in that regard, I do feel like some of the hype surrounding this show, some of the payoff was a little bit disproportionate throughout the 6 episodes. That could just be because I went into this with mega levels of anticipation, assuming that all 6 episodes were going to be on the same level of episode 1, 3, 5, 6. There were incredible moments though in every single episode, even if it wasn't action. I think the show did a phenomenal job of balancing, yes, phenomenal action, showing us Vader at his peak, showing us Kenobi refinding his strength, incredible action sequences, even just in the initial Order 66 flashback, Reva versus Vader. There was an incredible balance of beautiful choreography, wonderful, intense, high stakes action, but balanced with these incredibly delicate, sweet, more just quiet dialogue based moments, mainly between Kenobi and young Leia, who of course was phenomenal in this show. I could go on forever about all of the new actors that they've introduced in this series, but this video would be 30 minutes long if I did, and it's already going to be 30 minutes, so I'm just gonna try to keep it brief. But of course she was an absolute star, and she has a huge career ahead of her, I am sure, and I absolutely adored her performance. But the moments between Leia and Obi-Wan, even just quieter moments where he's telling her about insinuating Padme. Did we get a Padme name drop? No, unfortunately. But even just a reference to Padme was enough to make me get tears in my eyes. Maybe it's for the best that they didn't actually name drop her, because I might not have been physically capable of hearing that. So I think there was a phenomenal balance of, yes, high stakes, faster paced action, incredible duels and choreography, but in conjunction with these slower, more beautiful moments, even learning about Kenobi's backstory. Just think the hype balance, a lot of it fell on, of course, some of the greatest moments of the show were Vader, Hayden Christensen. And I know I've said this and I've discussed this with others, and I understand that you don't want to overly exploit or use Vader for the sake of hype and excitement, knowing that everybody loves him and wants to see more of him. If anything, I think that's where Vader gets his mystique, and I think they did a good job of maintaining that, because at the end of the series, I still wanted more from him, but I went into the show knowing very well that that was probably going to be the case. And if anything, that's the way I prefer it. We got some incredibly juicy Vader moments in this show, but they certainly did not overdo it. If anything, they somehow amped up the terror surrounding Darth Vader, which I didn't think was even still possible. But again, it was just all the more heartbreaking seeing him have no mercy, ruthless, just violent things that I didn't even think were gonna get approved for Disney Star Wars. That, yeah, I can't even say, snapping necks, that was just incredibly violent stuff to just further emphasize how far gone he truly is, which makes it all the more heartbreaking and heart-wrenching when we see his face in there and know that it's still Anakin. But even to hear him himself say that he is gone after we've all seen that, we all watched Vader do things that Anakin himself would never do, but we still hold on to that hope that he is in there, and then to just have them absolutely slap us across the face with that in the finale. I can't. All right, moving on. Would I have liked a little bit more just dialogue or even a Padme name drop or mention amongst Vader and Obi-Wan? Maybe, perhaps. But overall, I think the interactions that they delivered were priceless, like priceless pieces of Star Wars. And in no way, shape, or form for me, you guys know my biggest qualm going into this was that their confrontations were going to diminish the weight of their final confrontation in A New Hope on the Death Star. You guys know I had been saying I was anti Kenobi and Vader meeting, let alone fighting, because I don't know, I held so much weight in the belief that the last time they had interacted was on Mustafar. That to me was just incredibly high stakes. I was wrong, I will admit, because by the end of the series I was waiting. Episode 5 going into the finale, I was like, let's go, we are gonna have the duel of the century, let's bring it. Like, I was ready for it. If anything, I was absolutely not dreading it, not even worried that it was going to break canon or diminish their New Hope meeting in any way, shape, or form. And if anything, they did a phenomenal job of somehow enriching it, enriching the stories that Kenobi shares with Luke. Vader betrayed and murdered your father. Like, this is... he's not lying anymore. Like, this is truly coming from the words of Vader himself. I'm well aware that some people feel very differently about what has been done to the canon. I, as someone who went into this hesitant and reluctant to see it unfold, I am feeling very satisfied. I will just leave it at that. Again, if I were to go on in depth about every performance of the ensemble in this show, we'd be here for too much longer than it needs to be. But obviously, you guys know Tala. I think she was an absolutely phenomenal, beautiful, wonderful, amazing boss female character, and I cannot believe that they introduced someone so likable and someone just so incredible and then just absolutely tore her away from us like that. Reva, of course, I had my ups and downs with her. It was a roller coaster with her story in this show, and they maybe saved it for a little too long, like the anticipation, like the reveal of her backstory, but I think they did it perfectly, and her flashbacks as a vessel for Order 66 from a youngling's perspective. Again, material content perspectives of Anakin that I never thought we were going to be seeing. I was curious about her character and her drive and her passion and her hatred towards Kenobi and almost obsession from the start, and they did a phenomenal job of just building that even more to the point of finally getting that satisfaction of the reveal of her backstory. I'm not super thrilled with the fact that there is another person out there who knows about Luke and Leia. Like, I don't know how I feel about that, but that doesn't necessarily ruin the whole thing for me, honestly. Grand Inquisitor, I think Rupert Friend did a phenomenal job. Talk about being underused, like not used enough. I know I talked about this with Vader, but I wish that they had used Grand Inquisitor more as well. Of course, they saved him and his plot line was epic and turned out to have, you know, this amazing plot twist, but I think his performance was incredible to come into a role that is already well established and that people, you know, already have associated with Jason Isaacs. I think he did an absolutely stellar job. Like, truly, I loved his interpretation. His scenes were some of the greatest ones. His dialogue was some of the greatest dialogue. Like, he had so many good burns in this show. I wish there was more of him, similarly to Rosario Dawson taking on the role of Ahsoka Tano. The lack of the original voice actor that I associate with the character didn't bother me at all, because like Rosario Dawson, he really seemed to embody like just the arrogance and just the evil, like the conniving. He was, I loved it. I loved his performance. But of course, the absolute highlights of this series, I can't even talk. I can't even formulate words and how just absolutely grateful I am to Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen for breaking my heart all over again. Yes, of course I wish Hayden had more screen time. They definitely used him sparingly, but it packed a punch. When we did have him in the flashbacks, in Order 66 flashbacks, you know, we kind of got to see every single persona for Anakin, and then of course seeing him in the mask, in the Vader suit, in the helmet, just a complete, absolute shell of his former life, and the realization that he truly has killed, like, he is a different person. He has killed his soul, his former just self. We saw all three different facets of Anakin in this show, but each were used very tastefully. By the end of the series, like, yes, I was definitely feeling a little bit gypped the first at least like 4 episodes with the lack of Anakin in particular, but these final 2 really packed a punch with his performances, and I just cannot even fathom what it must have been like for him to come back and portray this role. But I'm obviously, of course, so grateful that he did, because the show would not have been the same without him, and we would not have gotten this closure that we do have. I don't even know if I want to call it closure. Like, there will always be unfinished business between them leading up to when they both become Force ghosts, of course. But yes, of course, Ewan carried this again, similar for him, coming back into this role, this mentally anguished version of Kenobi who is unable to even connect through the Force with his master because he is so absolutely still mentally distraught and unresolved. That he did a phenomenal job. Absolutely incredible performance, heartbreaking, heart-wrenching. You could see every bit of, pain that he is still feeling, but still trying to mask. But yes, both of their performances together, like, truly, not only were they phenomenal, but just the entire viewing experience of this show was just enhanced by the knowledge that the 2 of them were both so incredibly excited and ecstatic to come back and do this. To me, that always shows when the actors' hearts are truly in it, and so it just made the experience for us as the fans so much more just enjoyable, knowing that the 2 of them were thrilled to come back. So yes, I might try to just keep this brief and cap it there. There's so much more that I could talk about. Of course, the cherries on top being finally getting the hello there in conjunction with Qui-Gon Jinn. You guys know, I think my reaction said it all. I couldn't even speak. I was just so emotional and so thrilled that they not only brought him back, but brought him back in his physical form. I don't really know. I'm not gonna complain. This show successfully absolutely ripped my emotions apart, but was a beautiful and hopeful story at the end, and just absolutely heartwarming to see, Kenobi being able to protect Anakin and Padme's children like this, and just only being able to imagine what that means for him. Yes, I had some minor things that I didn't like about the show, but they mean absolutely nothing in comparison to the just incomparable and now like irreplaceable moments and emotions that this show like delivered for me as a prequel fan, and that at the end of the day is what I can't stop focusing on. It's not the things that I didn't like, it's just that beautiful like heartbreak that I experienced when I was 9, that I finally got some closure for, but at the same time they just reopened those wounds. But yes, once again, no matter how you felt about the series overall, or even just the finale on its own as like a standalone, your opinion is valid, your opinion is not wrong, no matter how you feel, and it does not make you any more or less of a Star Wars fan than anyone else. So with that said, I would of course love to hear your guys' thoughts now that we've all had a little bit more time to process and digest what we all witnessed on Wednesday this week with that finale. I would love to hear how you guys are feeling about a potential season 2, how likely you think it might be, and again, keeping it respectful as always, of course. But yes, thank you guys so much for joining me today, not only for this review, but if you were tuning in throughout all of the reactions. Hope you guys have all been doing so well. May the Force be with you guys always, and I will see you guys again very, very soon. Bye guys.